Soup for President, Chapter 5. Think, said Soup. I'm thinking. I don't mean about Norma Jean Bissell. I mean, think of a way we can make some campaign posters when we don't have any money. I am thinking. About what? Soup asked me. Sort of about Mr. Cyrus McGrinley. Oh, about him. If he ever finds out that you and I painted soup on his barn last Saturday, it'll be heck to pay. He'll report the whole thing to Sheriff Wilk. And we'll be wanted men, laughed Soup. Criminals, I sighed. We'll get thrown in the clink. Want another gumdrop? I asked Soup. I suppose you ate all the red ones. How come you're so fussy? I just like red. Not me, I said. After last Saturday morning, I never want to look at anything red for the rest of my living days, and that includes Santa Claus. Soup and I sat on the one-step-high porch of the candy store and finished the bag of gumdrops. You don't get a whole lot of gumdrops for a nickel, not from old Mr. Jubert. Maybe you could get a job, said Soup. Doing what? I haven't thought that out yet, said Soup, a bulge in his cheek that betrayed how he was savoring the last red gumdrop. There were tiny grains of white sugar in the bottom of the white paper bag. They rattled. Pouring them out into my hand, I gave half to Soup and ate the rest. Then we took turns smelling the bag. Any more ideas? Yep, said Soup. Let's sort of sidewind down the street and check out the Republican headquarters. We can get a landing button for our shirts. We each got a landing button yesterday. I know, but it's just something to do. Let's not waste another Saturday, I said, peeling a flake of red off the rim of my thumb. What do you want to do? Soup asked. Anything that doesn't take paint. Okay, let's go. A few buildings away, the Vermont Republican headquarters had already opened its doors. Everywhere you looked, there was a picture of Landon or Knox, smiling as if they already knew the 1936 election was in the bag and poor old President Roosevelt didn't have a doggone prayer of being reelected. The headquarters was an empty store. Inside we marched, where Mrs. Yost pinned a Landon button on Soup and then another on me. On the walls, besides Landon and Knox, were smaller pictures of the lesser candidates that were intent on capturing or retaining lesser offices. One banner pleaded, "Let's keep Capuzzo." You can keep him, sneered Soup, nudging me in the ribs so that his knee slapper didn't escape me. It didn't. Soup, you're a card. Come on, let's go across the street and watch Mr. Petty cut hair. Soup's eyes grew wider. Cut, he said, snapping his fingers. Huh? Rob? Can't you see? See what? Let's keep Capuzzo, said Soup. Keep him in what, a cage? Look, Rob, all we gotta do is cut. We cut off the K and the A, and lo, see what we got left? Puso. Mrs. Yost, Soup turned to the lady, Rob and I want to thank you for the landing buttons. Why, you're quite welcome, Luther. Do you know what Mr. Capuzzo's running for? Tax collector, said Mrs. Yost. Could you give us some of his banners? My folks said it was very important to have a Republican tax collector. It certainly is. Laden with bundles and bunting and leaflets that implored local voters to keep Capuzzo collecting their taxes, Soup and I staggered out of the Republican headquarters around the back behind the Dime Emporium. We dropped our political loot in a heap. What do we do now? I asked. Cut, said Soup. Throw away the K and the A of Capuzzo and then remix the 4 letters we got left and it spells soup. I barely breathed. Rob, he said, you might just blossom out and become a political genius. Soup's jackknife was dull. Mine was duller. Yet we cut and tore and rearranged letters with some paste, borrowed from the unsuspecting Mrs. Yost, until our sticky fingers appeared dry and cracked. You know, Soup? Yeah, there's only one thing wrong with these posters. I'm waiting. In looks, you don't favor Mr. Capuzzo a whole lot. I don't, huh? Nope, not at all. Yuck, I got paste in my mouth. And he has a mustache and you don't. What we need is some hair. For what? For your lip. Soup nodded. That makes sense. Unless you think I could grow my own mustache by November. Well, I said, seeing as it's already October and your first whisker is yet to appear, I don't guess I'd plan on much of a showing by next month. We need hair, said Soup. Where'll we get it? Soup said. Off a dog. I sat down on Mr. Capuzzo's face and laughed. So did Soup. And it made it funnier was when he sat in some paste and then got up and there was Mr. Capuzzo stuck to the back of Soup's pants. Here comes a dog, said Soup. After him, men, don't let him get away. The dog, a mean old mongrel that people called Cur, had entered the alley where Soup and I had been cutting and pasting, took one look at us, and curled back his lip. Dogs are good judges of character. Stop him, Soup was hollering. You stop him, it's your mustache. Don't you want me to win the election? Sort of. Not enough to get dog bit. I grabbed hold of Cur's tail. It sure was one of the dirtiest tails I ever touched, and that included our cows, a pony, 2 or 3 goats, and even one or both of Janice Riker's pigtails. Cur had been rolling in something, and it sure was fragrant, in a dismal sort of way. It wasn't really a smell, more like a kick in the nose. I turned his tail loose. You let go, Soup protested. Take my word for it. We'll call a better dog. How do you call a dog? Easy, I told him, making my famous police siren noise. And then I put my fist up near my mouth like an imaginary microphone and said, calling all curs, calling all curs. Soup fell down laughing. The old dog was looking at us from some safe distance, deciding that we were more insane than dangerous. Hair, said Soup. Where? Maybe we could use fur. Fur? Sure, Aunt Carrie has a genuine buffalo robe. Would she care if we cut off an inch or 2? I thought for a moment. She'd care. Then where can we find some? Soup again snapped his finger. I got it. Where? Mr. Petty's. Hurriedly we formed our plan. As we entered the barber shop, Mr. Petty spotted us with a suspicious eye, as both of us had been in his place of business before. Both you boys got a quarter? No, I said. Who's to get his hair cut? Rob is, came Soup's reply. Huh, Mr. Petty snorted. Doesn't look like you need a haircut to me. Just to trim over the ears, I lied. Still costs a quarter. Knees quaking, I sat in the barber chair thinking about the pockets of my trousers and how quarterless they were. Oh well, Soup said it would work. Underneath the striped bib that Mr. Petty was tucking under my chin, my knees were really trembling. Hurry, my brain was yelling to Soup. Hurry. Mr. Petty? You better wait outside, he told Soup. What I'd like to do while I'm waiting for you to cut Rob's hair is to sweep your floor, can I? You want to do what? Sweep your floor, Mr. Petty. For free. Our plan was working. Like a true Vermonter, Mr. Petty's face almost brightened at the thought of a costless bargain. Free? Soup smiled. Where's your broom? Mr. Petty nodded toward his closet. It would be hard to say which moved slower, the barber shears or the broom. Soup didn't seem to hurry. Hair was all over the floor, and what mattered was that we get out, grab a few tufts, and get out fast before Mr. Petty could realize that he had not been robbed, or before he'd conclude that he had, for a lifetime, been sweeping away a fortune. Hurry, I said aloud, not meaning to. What's your rush? Asked Mr. Petty. You want a haircut, don't ya? I couldn't answer. Well, don't ya? Behind Mr. Petty's back, Soup was down on his hands and knees, scooping up great handfuls of hair and stuffing it into his pockets. Enough, said Soup. What's the matter with you? Asked Mr. Petty. I can't stand it, wailed Soup. Stand it? Stand what? Why, some rich kids like him get haircuts and some poor kids like me have to go without. It's not fair. Mr. Petty's eyes narrowed, looking down over his half-moon glasses at Soup. studying him with complete distrust. "Are you some sort of a nut?" "Yes," I said to Mr. Petty. "He's crazy. Hide anything around here you have that's sharp." I pointed at the row of scissors and razors. "I'll put your broom back," said Soup. "Does it go in the bathroom?" "I don't have a quarter, Mr. Petty." "You what? Can I sweep the floor instead?" I asked. Hands in the air, turning around and around, Mr. Petty was trying to watch us both, as well as his cash drawer. Quickly, I tore off the striped bib. Words tumbled out of my mouth. If you're in trouble, Soup always said, talk like a machine gun. It sort of rattles the enemy. "Mr. Petty, I don't have a quarter. Please don't arrest me. I don't want to grow up to be a criminal." "Dang it," said Mr. Petty. "If you two hellions ever come in here again, you won't grow up at all." "Goodbye, Mr. Petty," I yelled. "Happy Easter," added Soup. "It's October," said Mr. Petty.